Welcome back to the second half of NEWSBREAK Live. Joining us tonight is Traffic Officer Stuart Scott from the Torrance Police Department. So nice to see you.
Very nice to see you, Hibah. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I mean, tonight we're talking about a very important subject. It's that time of year again where you will be being extra busy. In just a few days, school will start. So there'll be extra patrol around school campus beginning of the school year, correct?
That is correct. We will have we'll have our school resource officers they'll be out and about by the schools, but we'll also have motor officers that are assigned to different schools, as well as extra patrol officers that'll be working in and around the schools.
How important is it for drivers, pedestrians to be aware of their surroundings and be extra careful before school starts and during the school year?
It's very important, especially around the schools. Everyone seems to be in a hurry, trying to get their kids to and from school. And so we find that a lot of people, they're not really cognizant of the stop signs or the red zones. Sometimes they're letting their kids out in the street to get out of the vehicle and go to the school. So a lot of things that they wouldn't normally do because, with school starting, everyone has a new routine. They're not really ready for it, and so a lot of times they're running behind, which causes them to do things that they ordinarily wouldn't do.
I know you mentioned a couple of mistakes that parents do during the school year. Is there something that really sticks out to you as a traffic officer? I know you mentioned crosswalks, but also cars blocking certain driveways and areas that are essential for pedestrians.
Yeah, we see, like I said, there's a lot of things that they probably wouldn't normally do that tend to happen around the schools. You brought up blocking people's driveways. Most of the schools are in residential neighborhoods, so there's houses around, and a lot of times people will go to drop off their children and they'll block somebody's driveway. A lot of people even pull into people's driveways and make U-turns or back out. Which we have children and parents walking on the sidewalk, creates an issue, plus other traffic coming into the school. In addition to that, stop signs. A lot of people aren't stopping at the stop signs, and that's where we have a lot of the kids crossing. We have crossing guards assigned to the elementary schools, and so they are there to help get the kids across the street safely. So it's very important that parents stop at the stop signs, that they're extra vigilant, looking for those kids coming across and obey the crossing guards.
And, in the morning, parents are busy, they're rushing out, want to drop off their kids, get to the next thing. What is a game plan that parents can maybe kind of routine that they can put into the work so kids and themselves know how to stay safe?
Well, I always say, in this busy world, people tend to run late. So try and add some extra time for dropping the kids off. Take advantage of the systems that are in place, whether it be the crossing guards or using the valet systems at the schools. We always have those certain parents that every day you can count on them being late and they're rushed. So leave a little extra early. If you can, walk your kids to school. When these schools were established, most people walked to school, rode their bikes, and times have changed now. People are driving and bringing their kids to school. So make sure you allow some extra time for the traffic. Make sure you take advantage of using the systems that are in place, the crossing guards, the valet system, and such.
Around a school zone, what is the speed limit? And do you often see people following this? What are the main citations that are given out in these school zones?
Well, the speed limit in a school zone is 25 miles an hour. So, but the main violations that we see in and around the school zones are people running stop signs. We also see, failure to yield to the pedestrians in the crosswalk. People aren't letting people cross, or they're driving right behind them when they do cross. We also see when parents pull up, a lot of times their kids are already out of their seat belts. I see parents on their cell phones as they pull in or leave a valet line. The other thing too is where they're parking. Are they parking in the red zone? Or if they're letting their child out and parking, are they jaywalking across the street? And we encourage those parents, we have the crossing guards, we encourage you to use the crosswalks and watch your speed, stop signs, and always expect the unexpected. Basically, always look when you come to a stop sign, expect there to be pedestrians there.
And you just mentioned distracted drivers. When we chatted about this topic, you mentioned, hey, people are always on their phones. What's the best way? Just put your phone away? I mean, is this something you cite people for all the time?
Yes, it's probably next to speeding. That's probably the biggest ticket that I give as far as on a regular basis is the cell phones, because it's so dangerous. You know, put your phone away. That text can wait. That phone call can wait. If you don't have a Bluetooth or earpiece and your vehicle doesn't have it, wait till you're off the road because it's very distracting when you're on the phone, especially if you have kids in the back seat, you're trying to talk on the phone and watch what you're doing while you're driving. Your best bet, pull over to the side of the road, park before you make that phone call or respond to that text message.
And what about school buses? A lot of times people forget the rule when it comes to driving behind a school bus when you're stopped, when the stop sign, comes out of that bus and the red light flashes. Can you tell people about that, what that means as a driver?
Yeah, so when you're following a school bus or even you're approaching from the other direction and you see that school bus stop and the stop sign come out in the flashing red, you have to stop. You can't go around the school bus. You can't proceed even if you're going the opposite direction. You have to wait for that school bus to unload, let the kids get off, go across the street, and then once the stop sign goes back in, the red lights go off, then you can proceed.
Okay. And a recent research by AAA shows that 1/3 of drivers roll through stop signs in school zones and neighborhoods. And you were just talking about the importance of these stop signs. What is the main importance when it comes to pedestrians and drivers? Should pedestrians also keep an eye out for these stop signs?
They should. And a lot of times, there's a crosswalk, whether it be at a traffic signal or a stop sign, and pedestrians see the crosswalk and they say, well, I should be fine. I'm in the crosswalk. I always tell pedestrians, expect the driver not to see you. Make sure that you make eye contact with that driver in the vehicle so that they do see you. Don't just step off the curb because you're in a crosswalk because it kind of gives that false sense of security. When you're a driver, very important to stop at the stop signs. AAA says that probably 1/3 of drivers don't stop at stop signs. I would say that's pretty accurate. A lot of people don't stop at stop signs, especially around the schools during the school times. So important because there are going to be kids, there's going to be parents and crossing guards. So please stop at those, watch. And if you're a pedestrian, again, expect that the driver doesn't see you. Make sure you make eye contact before you step into the roadway.
And the after school time is the main area or time, when drivers and pedestrians need to be extra cautious. Usually that's when a lot of accidents happen and fatalities.
It does happen in the afternoon, and we can have accidents or fatalities any time during the day. But there's some factors in the afternoon. As we get further along in the year, it starts to get darker quicker. So lighting is an issue. Also, it's just, people are busy with their lives and they're rushing from place to place. And again, a lot of times they're not expecting pedestrians or they're just not paying attention. And that's why it's so important if you are out and about walking or riding a bike during those times to really be careful and watch the vehicles, make sure they see you.
Officer Scott, you're in charge of the south area of Torrance. What problem do you see in that area, or are there particular schools that face traffic issues?
Well, I would say there's no one particular school that has more traffic issues than the other. What we see is basically all the schools have the same traffic issues, and that's basically for that 20 or 30 minutes in the morning and 20 or 30 minutes in the afternoon. You have a large number of vehicles coming in and around the school, dropping kids off, picking them up, also with the pedestrian traffic. So the residential neighborhoods are always impacted because that's where the schools are. So it's just, it's not any particular school, it's basically all the schools have the same issues with the parking in the driveways or blocking the driveways, parking in the red zone, letting their children out and causing the kids to jaywalk across the street. not stopping at the stop signs, not yielding to pedestrians. So we have those issues at probably every school in the city.
And we talked about drivers, pedestrians, but what about bicyclists? A lot of times, I learned this from you, that it is illegal to ride your bike on a sidewalk, which we see quite often.
Yes, so we do see a lot of people riding their bicycles on the sidewalk, which is illegal. The other thing we see is that people actually ride their bikes the wrong direction. When you ride the bicycle, you're supposed to ride it on the street, but you're supposed to ride with the flow of traffic. What we see a lot is people riding against the flow of traffic, and even more so when they ride on the sidewalk, they seem to ride against the flow of traffic. So as a driver that's pulling out of a driveway, they're looking to their left because that's where they're expecting traffic to come from. They're not looking to their right, the sidewalk, because there shouldn't be any traffic there. And what's happening is we do have some accidents where a bicyclist is riding the wrong way on the sidewalk and gets into a traffic accident with a vehicle that's pulling out.
Okay. And when should children, people take off their seatbelts? I know you mentioned people are in a hurry. When is the appropriate time? Is it when the car stops fully, or when, you know, we're parked into the lot of the school?
I would say wear your seatbelt until you're parked, or if you pull in the valet line and the vehicle stops, then take your seatbelt off. Because you never know, if there could be an accident, you know, coming into the school, and if you stop at the stop sign and now you're proceeding to go into the valet line, but you take your seatbelt off and there's an accident, you're unprotected. So always encourage parents, wear your seatbelt, be a good example for your children, but also have the children wear their seatbelt until you stop to let them out.
And many times in these situations, people forget the common sense actions on what to do. Are there top 3 that you can kind of tell viewers about that you tend to see?
The top 3 actions that people do? Well, I would say a lot of things that they do, they don't stop the stop sign. So we need to address that. You need to make sure that you stop the stop signs. Using the cell phone, whether it be talking or texting, that's another one, which is just, it's not a good example, one for your kids, but 2, it's very dangerous because your attention is on the cell phone and it's not on the roadway. And then 3, just being courteous and to other drivers, but also to people that are there to help your children, whether it be the crossing guard or people in the valet system. The crossing guards, you know, they're there to help protect our kids, get them to school. And I often hear of people, you know, parents yelling at the crossing guards and complaining, and they're just trying to do their job. They want to get the kids there safe. So be courteous, give yourself some extra time, and just be safe however you get your kids to school, whether it's driving or walking or they bike to school.
And on social media, when the TPD posted about traffic safety, many residents were complaining about certain areas. So if there is an area of concern that parents are worried about, how does the process work? What do they do?
So if you have an area of concern or a complaint, you can go about it 3 ways. You could call the police department and talk with them about what the issue is. Most likely what they'll end up doing is transferring you to the traffic division. So you could also just call the traffic division and tell them where you live and what your specific complaint is. There's the way we divide the city, we divide it in half. So we divide it at Torrance Boulevard, and everything north of Torrance Boulevard is considered the north part of the city, and everything south of Torrance Boulevard is the south part of the city. So we have 2 area traffic officers that are assigned. One works the north, my partner Dusty Garber, and then I work the south. And the other way you can get a hold of us is either on our website or on the mobile app. If you go to, you know, traffic complaints and you click on the tab for either the North ATO, which stands for Area Traffic Officer, or South ATO, what that does is it gets an email, sends it directly to us, and then we'll respond normally by emailing you back, sometimes by calling you, and following up, and then we'll go out and look and evaluate that specific complaint.
Well, thank you so much for the great safety tips. That was Officer Stuart Scott, and good luck with the new school year.
Thank you very much, Hibah. Thank you for having me on.
And if you have any questions, you can call the Torrance Traffic Division at 310-618-5557. And that does it for tonight's NewsBreak Live. We always welcome your feedback, so if you have news or even video that you'd like to share, please email us at newsbreak@torranceca.gov. And for Facebook and Twitter users, use hashtag NewsBreakLive. Have a great night.